Call the committee of the whole meeting to order at 6:31. We do a roll call.
Yes. Alder Madden.
Here.
Alder Kalish.
Here.
Mayor Kuhn.
Here.
Alder Jackson.
Here.
Alder Lorman.
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here. And we have a line for the committee of the whole. Presentation and discussion regarding the history of satellite area development and potential future plans with Legacy 20 and Capital Links Arena representatives.
Thank you, Pro Tem Crow. So as we talked about in council in the past, Capital Ice has approached us to talk about kind of their future plans for the property, some ideas that they have, long-term sort of funding mechanisms that they'd like to explore with the city to make that happen. Given that we've had a change over. Yep. Given that we've had some turnover in council over the last couple of years, we thought it appropriate to bring them back to kind of talk more broadly about the history of the city's association with Capital Ice, how we got to where we are today. That would be the focus of tonight's meeting, to give everyone time to get up to speed on kind of the relationship between the two entities. And then at another committee of the whole meeting, approximately a month from now, we'd have another similar committee of the whole ahead of a council meeting where they talk a little bit more about their thoughts on a funding mechanism going forward. So kind of a two-step process just to get everyone up to speed on the history and then what they're looking to do. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Andrew and Don from Capital Ice to talk about kind of the history of the property and where we go from there.
Thank you for having us. We welcome.
As they're coming to the front, do we have anybody from council on the Zoom call, or are we all present? Just double check.
Sure.
No.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My name's Don Goodweiler. I live in Middleton, and I'm the treasurer of the Capital Ice Arena, or Capital Ice. I'm one of the few people who've been here since the very beginning of the development of the ice rink. It was built in June of 1999. Bob Suter and I were kind of the leaders of the Capitals. We worked with Mayor Ramsey and the council at that time. There was an interest in having an ice facility here in Middleton. The youth program had built a rink in Verona, which meant that the youth from Middleton had to travel to another city in order to be able to have practices. And it also made it difficult for the Middleton High School to do their thing. So it was thought that we would get together and see if we couldn't build a rink. The Madison Capitals is a AAA organization, which is of the youth variety, is the highest level of hockey. They play all over the United States. They play in Canada. They've been to nationals a number of times, pretty well recognized program. And at that time, we didn't have a home. We had originally started skating out of Hartmeyer. When McFarland opened, we started there, but we really needed a place to have. We got together with Middleton, and we formed a small group of people who were investors. We put money in. We had a lot of sweat equity back in 1999, and with the support of the Middleton Council and the City of Middleton, we were able to put this together, and I think it was pretty record time. One of the stories I like to tell is that in order to get the rink open for the upcoming season, we had to order the steel. And so Bob Suter and I signed for, I don't know, $600,000 worth of steel, and we still didn't have an agreement with the city at that point. So it was some possibility that Bob and I would have owned $600,000 worth of steel and not known necessarily what to do with it. But basically, our agreement was the city was to put up the land. At one point, we were going to be out by between here and Wanakee, where there is a soccer field now. But later, there was a couple of other different places, but we ended up in the industrial park. We had an agreement that the Madison Capital Group would buy the building. So we financed the entire thing, and we would give the building then to the city. The city would put up the land, and so as a project, the city and the land and the building would all be owned by the city. And what the Capitals would get out of the deal was it was done in stages, but basically it was a 50-year lease with the right to use it, or restrictions in terms of how we could use it and how we had to take care of it, that kind of thing. But that's how we got started. We opened that November, and then from that time, we had user groups from Wanakee and user groups from Cross Plains and Middleton, and the Capitals. And the rink has grown since that. It was started out as a 2-rink facility. We put a little over $3.5 million into the rink originally, as far as the constructing of it. One of the unique things was at the time that the rink was being built, there was a need for some sand and things for the Tiedemann Pond project. And I can't tell you, Mayor Ramsey probably could remember. I talked to him just the other day. But when they went to do the land for the rink, they found that it was, because that whole area out there it was part of originally a lake, and that was the beach part of it. And so they took truckload after truckload of sand and took it out of there and took it over, and were able to finish the project over at Tiedemann Pond at a much more reasonable rate. All they had to pay for was the trucking. But basically, that's how the agreement started. We've run the rink. We've made an expansion to it. Part of the lease agreement that we had with the city was that the owner group would not take any money out of the rink unless we had paid a rental fee or a lease fee to the city. Originally, that was thought to have been a good deal both for us and for the city. We had a 20-year mortgage for $3.5 million, and at the end of 20 years, we paid off the $3.5 million. Had we not had the need to expand at that time, we'd have had roughly $250,000 a year excess money to split between. It would gone partly to the city and partly to the user group. But instead of doing that, we expanded the rink because there was a need for expansion. There was a need in the community to do the right thing, and the right thing at that point was to go out and do that. We brought in the USHL team, who was looking for a home. They were playing out of the Coliseum. The Coliseum was no longer going to do ice for hockey, so they had to have a place to play. We thought at one point we might go to Hartmeyer, but didn't. And we came to Middleton, and this time we put $3.2 million into the rink, which, after having paid off $3.5 million and feeling good about the fact that we had the possibility of a cash flow, we turned around and spent $3.2 million. We were fortunate in the fact that interest rates were favorable, and we basically traded one mortgage of $18,000 a month for another mortgage of $18,000 a month. And that went pretty well for quite a long time. Now we're in the need for another expansion. Would cost somewhere, I don't know, $3 to $5 million. And interest rates are no longer favorable. So it puts us in a tough spot. We'd like to be able to do things better than we're doing them now, although I think we have a very nice facility. I mean, we've attracted the WIAA state tournament. We've attracted a number of high-profile events. We've done some international events, which is highly unlikely for a smaller community rink to be able to do. So we think of ourselves as a rink that is very accomplished. Not maybe last year, but in the last few years, we've been keeping track of how many rooms people use when they're at events at Capitol Ice.
I'm gonna ask you to pause for a minute.
Sure.
For our newer alders, that impact helps our tourism, just so you know. So that's what he's reflecting on. Thank you.
Okay. And it was the last full count that we had was 7,700 rooms we attract over the course of a year. And I know that you folks probably know better than I what that amount turns into revenue for this community, and what kinds of things that a tourist organization would do in order to attract any event that over the course of a year would bring 7,700 rooms to their community. With the expansion that we're talking about, and Andrew will talk more about that, we would expect that would go up significantly. And it's because we can attract bigger groups with more participants by the fact that we'd have 3 rinks as opposed to 2. Middleton Youth is not able to take the people and use the rink as much as they could because there just isn't enough ice available. And we run a lot of programs. I think in one of the brochure, or one of the things that I handed out earlier that should have been distributed to you, shows you the number of different and variety of events that we host, both locally and those events that are coming in. So I don't want to talk a long time because I tend to talk a long time, and I'd just as soon not do that. But I do want to answer any of the questions you have. I love the rink. I love Middleton. I live here in Middleton. So I'm passionate about the fact that it's the kind of facility that you folks should be proud of, that we're certainly proud of. And we would like to see us accomplish what we feel like we need to do. And part of what we need to do is the original lease that we signed 20 years ago is not serving you folks as well as a new lease or as a reversal of the lease, reversing the ownership of the rink and the land back to the ownership of Capital, the Madison Capitals, which is basically Ryan Suter. And then having us go back and pay property tax to the city. So not only would you pick up the revenues from the room rentals that we have, and I think it's worth mentioning that our payroll, these are people who live in our area here, it's about $500,000 a year between the USHL team, the Madison Capital Youth Program, and the Madison Capital Ice Rink, or the Capital Ice Rink. So we're picking up those people who are filling the rooms that we're busy building every day, which is a positive for the city. We're bringing tourists in, and we'd like to turn around and pay the property taxes also. What we got out of that deal is we get equity. We're flexible enough to know that there'll be conditions from you folks. There'll be conditions that from other people, other user groups, perhaps. But we believe that we can all work together. We have in the last 24 years we've worked together. Proud to say that we've never come to the council and said, by the way, folks, we need you to give us money, or we need you to buy the rink, or we need you to do this, or we need you to do that. And in that time, the owner group has not taken a nickel yet. So what we have invested and what we have put up for risk, we've done it because we thought it was the right thing to do. Okay. Have any questions? Feel free to ask me.
Can I ask if our city council, have you guys been over to that rink at all? Yeah, okay, good. Full disclosure, my husband's Minnesotan, so I will say nothing else, but good luck.
Thanks.
Let Randall
sir.
lead.
Oh,
Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
okay. Thank you. Andrew, you're up.
I think Don, to be honest, touched on most of it. My name is Andrew Jodry. I am a town of Middleton resident. I have the unique privilege for my daughter to be a Middleton Cardinal, my son to play for the Capitals Youth Program, and for the last 6 years, I've worked for the USHL team and now transitioning over to the arena. So home away from home. But Don really touched on a lot of it. Right now, the current landscape of our little miniature hockey world is that there's not enough ice in Dane County at all. It would be fantastic if the University of Wisconsin would allow Le Bon to be used more, and also the Baki facility. But Verona's ice, they built their new facility. It's full. Our Ryan is a partner with a project in DeForest that's being built. Our Capitals youth girls are going to move to that location in the 25-26 season to open up more ice time for Middleton youth hockey. To Don's point, Middleton youth hockey, even if they could run the best grassroots campaign to get more kids and learn to play and learn to skate and girls hockey and a gear exchange program, there's no ice. There is no ice. Where Middleton High School currently practices at 6 a.m. and then starting at 3:50 p.m. until 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, the ice is booked on both sheets. With Middleton getting 8 hours a week of those hours. On a good week, maybe more. The high school gets some, but we have 14 teams with the Capitals youth program. In Middleton, depending on numbers, is somewhere in that range as well. So we're at somewhat of we're locked right now. So we do believe that in 25-26, that will allow for more ice time for Middleton. If they want to expand, though, it goes right back to square one in that they're not getting enough of the ice as it is. So even if they kept the current enrollment, they would actually get the ice they deserve for what they're doing in 25-26. So with the expansion aspect of it, we currently have, these slides, you don't have to go through them that way, but we have Capitals Youth Program, which is really in and around Dane County, probably from circumference, probably an hour and a half from Middleton, all the way around. Kids travel in from Middleton. Youth hockey is town and city. There's a few kids that opt in from from West Madison, but that's the bulk of it. Yeah, Middleton High School. Our next biggest user group, Madison Gay Hockey Association, largest gay hockey association in the country. Then you have Learn to Skate, which is open to anyone in Dane County. You have 3-on-3 hockey in the summer, open to anyone in Dane County. You have a girls training program in the summer, a boys training program in the summer. You have our USHL team, which is for a very short conversation, JUCO for hockey without losing any eligibility. It's kind of a stopgap between high school and college. So we have a ton of user groups. Where we currently struggle is, so we've had conversations with USA Hockey, the IHF, the WCHA. Most of this pertains to either larger tournaments or girls programs. We do not have the locker room space by any means to do it. We host the WIA state tournament. We had in the last 2 years. We're finalizing a contract for 25 and 26, which is great. We use every closet space that is fire code accessible in that rink for that tournament. We make it work. They take over our front office, all of our rooms, our medical rooms. We just don't have the space. And that was feedback after we hosted the IHF event in 2022, which was the U18 Women's Worlds. They liked it. They did not like Le Bon. Le Bon does not have enough space, and we don't have enough space. So the WCHA had the same message: was we like your venue, we like the area, we love Madison, does not have the amenities and the space for officials. Your female officials, male officials, female teams, athletic training, drug testing, all of the above that goes on. The reason I say that, or those are the events that bring in the most to the city. Now, if you're talking just business side, that's the most effect they have. We were lucky, we landed with Verona, the 2025, it's a mouthful, 2025 USA Tier 1 Hockey Nationals for the U15 and U16 teams. So it's 32 teams coming in next April, first week of April for 6 days. Last year's event had about 2,600 hotel rooms for that event. Now that was outside of San Jose, but the same number of teams, scouts, coaches, families come in for that. So that's an event that with Verona and sharing that with locker room space, we're able to get. But hosting that on our own is not possible right now. So what we see as an event like that between concessions and ice rental and just people coming in, are the arena itself. It's a financial, benefit to us, but obviously knowing they're coming into the area to spend money on hotels, food, shopping, and whatnot, gas, all the above. So our hope and our goal, and we've met with Sketchworks and we've done, stormwater drainage, all of the testing, and just hypothetical testing on doing this, is renovating west of the arena. There's two approaches to that. We would love to add a third sheet, knowing that falls onto town land. So that's probably a much longer conversation than tonight. The other option is renovating west, 50 to 70 square feet, or 50 to 70 square feet west, and then about 200 feet north-south, where that would allow us to add the amenities that we would need. So with locker rooms, female locker rooms, officials locker rooms, video room, classroom, athletic training room, hospitality areas, more restrooms, another entrance. So, and that would really finish off the west end of our arena. If you've been in there, it's a little bit, we have a nice big video board and banners, but it's a white metal building. It's not exactly glamorous by any means. That would allow us to have the finish that the WCHAs, the NCAAs, the IHS, the USA Hockey's at the higher events would want us to have in order for their level of event, for lack of a better term, on their part. So, we had the same, WIA is back for 2 years. There's a building being built, Cornerstone Ice Arena in Green Bay. St. Norbert's has raised, I think, over $20 million to build a new facility. Conveniently, the WA has agreed to a 2-year deal extension, and that arena is scheduled to be finished in 2.5. So we know that I think they like Madison, as for example, for a one-off event, but they also have kept hinting, hey, you've heard about maybe renovating and adding. Is that a possibility? Does it make sense to invest $3.5 million for the WIA tournament alone? No, but as a program, it would help our boys program, our girls program, and that our girls they're going to have a really nice setup in DeForest. We couldn't take the whole program over, not enough ice, because DeForest is going to be granted most likely a youth hockey, a WAHA license to have their own program,
Great.
which is great for them. That will give Wanakee and Sun Prairie kids back into their district. So it does open up ice in Middleton, but again, our view is to expand and to grow what we can offer and the events we can bid and host on and the programs we can run. Expansion is, it's not needed. We would absolutely love it. If it isn't able to happen, then we continue to operate as we are and look to find other solutions. But it's been a great. I came in 2017 in the summer. We renovated the next spring, and it's kind of evolved ever since. But that's where we stand. That's a lot of words, and that's really the truth of it. I mean, from all the way down that list. I just had a conversation with the interim commissioner of the WCHA, and they're interested. They'd like to come, but right now they play out of Ritter in Minneapolis. It's just a nicer, he was honest, nicer facility. And that's one example. The IHF, the larger youth tournaments, and what we'd like to be able to do too is the larger youth tournaments. Again, we're limited right now in actual locker room space. The DCOHA, the Dane County Dane County Head of Officials is not happy right now. We have one dedicated referee's locker room. We don't have one for male or female, like an additional one, and we don't have a third one if we have games going on both, and those groups can't share. So that limits us to a degree where it frustrates our tenants, which is Middleton High School, Middleton Youth, and our Capitals Youth Program. Our USHL team is a little bit of the top of the pecking order. They only have 30 games a year at home, so they don't disrupt too much, but that's the current landscape. And last thing I would say, again, I say last thing, but the event, the Madison Sports Commission, the economic impact, that was the number they brought to us for next year's Tier 1 event. So again, I look at it both ways. My daughter's 8 and plays hockey and loves it. I would love her to continue to play. I think she was too young, not too young, but she came to watch some games. We went and watched Canada USA at Le Bon for the under 18 Women's Worlds. And, it's neat to see that. It's neat for my son to see that state tournament. That's what we want to continue to grow and get more kids involved. The more we can showcase, whether it be an all-girls event, a top-level girls, top-level boys, a state tournament, boys and girls, it gets local kids seeing that hockey is helpful. Another 3-hour conversation, we'll be getting the cost of ice down, but that's a whole nother issue. So I think that for the most part covers it. Really, my rambling on that presentation was just to give you an idea of who we have at the arena, kind of the layout of the facility, what we'd like to do, what we are doing, and kind of a general snapshot of where we stand. So I think we covered it.
Supposed to be the why.
Supposed to be the why. There you go. So
Actually, I have a question too, and I'm trying to remember when my daughter was in high school. I want to say she may have had a gym class. The high school uses that for skating or skating instruction.
yeah,
Is there open skate time for the public? I mean, is there?
there's so Ashley, we just switched over to Crossbar in the sports websites for Sports Engine and Crossbar. We just changed the Crossbar. Ashley, the head of our communications director at the arena, she puts up that there. So there's open hockey and open skating every week, all year long.
Okay.
So in the summer, we have more flexibility where those can be on weekend hours and the evening hours. During the winter, we try to put them around lunch hour. And then the high school has both broomball and skating. So we would love to host the middle schools, elementary schools. I know it can be tricky with, we have, I'd say, probably over 300 pairs of skates of different sizes. We do not have helmets for all the kids, so that can be tricky when the kids are younger. But that's something that we see kids all the time through Middleton High School.
Thanks. So, Todd?
Yeah, and a question similar to Alder Crow. Then, so is this facility, does it have ice year round?
Yes.
Are you're playing hockey year round?
Yeah, we take it out. We'll take out we call Rink A, our main arena with the seating and the video board. That will come out middle of August for about 10 days. Repaint the lines, flush the lines, repaint the ice. Rink B, we're planning to take out, is it late June, middle June? But so we don't have the flexibility right now taking both out at the same time. A lot of arenas like Sauk Prairie, Sun Prairie stays in, Sauk comes out, Dodgeville comes out. A lot of those arenas, Monroe, just because of the cost of keeping it cool in the summer and programming. We keep ours in. I think MIA, West Madison keeps theirs in. So.
Just so you guys know, I had a tour of it last year. So if there are times, if anyone would like a tour of it, Brian could probably organize something. I found it very helpful because as I had questions, HVAC questions and the locker rooms and, seeing that for myself and what the layouts are. I found that very helpful. And we actually talked, the reason I laughed when he talked about ice costs is we were talking about scheduling last summer. and just everything they have to do to match up the schedule times because of, all the variations. And the cost is always hard, but I am a parent of a hockey 8-year-old. She is a sweet child, and they do have to go and rent I think it's 10 other locations, even beyond the county, to get ice time. And from my recall, Middleton is competitive. If not, they get because they're the home team, they get a better cost than if you have to go to another rink and get ice time. I think, except for if we drive like over an hour, then the costs come down, but you're putting all those parents on the road. It's something that I'm thinking about on a broad scale, not only for hockey parents, but other teams like the football parents and the soccer parents as we send them out, because there's just not enough quantity of surface here in the county. So I do appreciate you bringing the thought process forward to try and fill that need. So.
Alderman Lorman?
Bill dumbed this down for me. So bottom line is we just need to give them some land so they can just build more. And what do we get out of it?
Yeah, so with the current lease agreement that's in place, the city provided the land with a long-term lease. As they explained, Capital Ice put up the money to build the facility on that land, provided that to the city with city ownership so that it would be tax exempt. I think what they ask is, which we'll get into more in the follow-up meeting, is they are asking for the city to provide the land and provide the building, and that would give them the equity to be able to take out additional financing to finance an expansion. So I think we need to look at whether the city would want to provide the land. If so, what restrictions would be on there? Is there an alternative for another long-term lease of the land, and work out what those details would look like?
That was a very well concise explanation.
Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you for coming and sharing. Appreciate it. The history and the plans that you're hoping for. So
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, that's all the business we had. So committee of the whole is adjourned.